from Navin. Cool. Frederic, have you had a good experience with the program also?
Yeah, that was my first time as a mentor for the program, and that was very, very interesting and a nice way to be able to have people starting to contribute to the ecosystem. So nice. Just my time that has to be invested, so I can do that.
Indeed, indeed. But you've been getting a lot done these past couple months, so it's pretty impressive. I look forward to hearing some of your feedback on the program later on. We're all interested in these newcomer programs and how to bring people into the community. All right, let's. Are there did anybody else like to introduce themselves? Say hi. If not, we can continue along. Alrighty. It looks like the security crew and the HPC crew is about to tell us some things. Roland, you want to step up and let us know what you all have going on?
Sure. I just have a couple short announcements that I wanted to share with everybody. Both of them relate to just upcoming meetings and trying to get the word out about these meetings. The first one is that there is a monthly Jupyter Hub and high performance computing meeting that we hold. I've got the link to the agenda there in the minutes for this meeting. And there's also a link there to the project community calendar. That meeting is the first Wednesday of every month. And it's a place for people to get together to commiserate around supercomputing and Jupyter Hub and high performance computing deployments. And then the second one is around the newly formed Jupyter Security subproject. We have bi-weekly meetings around Jupyter security topics, not for discussing specific vulnerabilities, but around talking about general issues around securing Jupyter deployments. Those are bi-weekly on Fridays at 9 a.m. And the next call is going to be on the 10th. So this Friday we're off, but next Friday we're back on. And the topic of that meeting is going to include, one of the topics for that meeting is going to be the trusted CI engagement that we have with Trusted CI. They've done an initial review of all of the security documentation across all of the Jupyter subprojects. And so we're going to go over that at that meeting. And I think that should be a very interesting topic. That's all I wanted to say. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Right.
Are we going to have formal CVE processes in the future?
We don't have them now.
Where are they? Where are those docs at?
I think this is part of what we want to address, right? Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
I'd say, we're trying to cover two things. One is like with the help of Trusted CI is what's outward facing to the users and deployers. And then we just kind of want to start this conversation like, hey, how do we manage credentials to the GitHub orgs? Who manages the SSL certs for Jupyter org? And what is the CVA process? Can we write this down in a few lines and make the community aware? So I'm glad you're bringing that up because this is kind of how we, socialize ideas and where people might want to put work.
Very cool. I'm excited for that work. I know Matthias from IPython has been pretty aggressive with filling out some of these things too. So hopefully he gets in touch with you all soon. Also,
he deserves a lot of credit because he kind of helped push this at the very beginning a few years ago.
Cool. It takes a long time to get stuff off the ground in open source, doesn't it? It also takes a long time to roll your eyes like that too. That was awesome. Best response.
Well, there's also let's also not forget the last year and a half that has kind of made it even harder. Roland and I have had a community workshop. This is all a community workshop effort that snowballed.
Right. I mean, it's been like the last 5 or 7 years. I mean, isn't the blip in Marvel like a real thing, or is that what we just lived through? I'm not sure. Anyway, are there any more announcements? So Rick and Roland said their piece. Does anybody have any recent releases, any celebrations, any kind words they'd like to say before we get into the agenda items?
I can just chime in. There's been a flurry of releases. We're starting to get ready for.
I've never seen it. All of.
I feel like context is needed for people who might not know Nick. This is a new look.
Every once in a while, it's like a reverse werewolf. So yes, I normally have a beard down to here and hair down to here, but I don't today. So, and I won't for a while, I guess. We're starting the ramp up for Python 3.10. A lot of our old friends like Nose are not coming along for the ride. And so be prepared for a little bit of rocky stuff. We're trying to get some releases out. So this has impacted traitlets, which no longer requires a bunch of things. This has impacted IPy It's going to impact IPy widgets. So, if you didn't lock down your environments like 2 weeks ago, well, you've got to kind of have to watch out for what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. But if anybody recalls how the 3.9 rollout went, it was not super smooth. And so we're trying to do a little bit better this time. And we've got more CI running against more nightlies and RCs and stuff like that. So, but there will be releases and they will break your stuff. So, don't say I didn't warn you.
Well, thanks. New look, Nick. I've never seen you get rid of the hair and the beard at once. It's either been the beard at one time or the hair at another time, but the whole kit and caboodle, it's just like you got the mall discount. Alrighty. So if things break, blame Nick. And let's see. We got some updates from Mike. You want to tell us a little bit how translation's going, Mike?
Yes, just very quickly, I want to mention that Jupyter Lab translation strings are now all in crowding, which is the system that we are using to collaborate on translations. And we would be very happy if you can contribute or spread the word around. Many languages are mostly ready to go. There are also some extensions in addition to Jupyter Lab itself. And we are looking forward to getting this finalized and releasing a first series of language packs.
How cool. How cool. That's very exciting to hear. What languages do we have good coverage on at this point? Are there quite a few?
Certainly Chinese is fully completed and French is fully completed, as Steve just said in the chat. And I guess Polish has pretty good coverage. There are some languages which have good coverage, but the translations are not confirmed because we had to change context of some strings. Those were unmarked and need just someone to press a tick and confirm whether this is still a good translation.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing all that. It's exciting. Alrighty. Are there any more short announcements? Instead of putting your name on the list, I'm gonna let you all shout at the same time. Loudest voice wins. Cool. Alrighty. So let's move on into our agenda item and let's hear about Navin's experience with the MLH Fellowship and his work on the Jupyter Git extension.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Okay. All right.
Wonderful. We can see the HackMD.
I hate how like the Zoom screen sharing toolbar overlaps with my Chrome tab. Okay, anyways, I was supposed to have
I feel you.
Fancy presentation. This was for the fellowship, but I guess for this call, I can be a little more casual. The title of the presentation was Getting Good at Jupyter Labbing. This is me. This is my partner who is not here at the moment. He helped out. His name is Sina. And this is Frederick, of course. Past 9 weeks, we spent contributing like features and tackling major issues in the Jupyter Lab Git extension. So although it wasn't the the whole editor code base, at least we got a very vital extension that's used by a lot of people and a lot of teams. So yeah, Frederick was very vital. He taught me a lot of stuff about how open source works and how Jupyter Lab itself works. I feel like if we had a different mentor who didn't know much about the editor but only knew the extension, we would have been worse off. So to Frederick, merci beaucoup. So in the past 9 weeks, if this could load, yeah, we contributed to 5 pull requests. 2 of them were just bug fixes to get our hands, dirty on the code base, and the other 3, which I'll be demoing today, are features. So without further ado, this is the first one, Git Commit Amend. So what this does, it just plops your stage changes onto the, the last committed commit. Before in Jupyter Lab, you didn't have a way to do this, so you had to do it through the terminal. And if you weren't terminal savvy or just didn't know about Git well, this would be frustrating and hard. So now we bring the ability into Jupyter Lab by adding a button that says amend. Next one I want to talk about before I show this demo for these 2 is the Git history for a selected file. So in Jupyter Lab, you before you would only see the Git history for the entire repository. And if you're someone who's like just a data analyst working in a large code base that only worries about one notebook, you really don't care about everyone else's commit history and just wants the commit history for that one file. So we bring that into Jupyter Lab by simply right-clicking onto a context menu, and it's nice and pretty. So I'll demo that now first. It's this one. So this is actually the code base for Jupyter Lab Git, because I don't have any other code bases right now with a lot of commit history. So let's start with the single file history. So if you go to the Git tab and then you click history, nothing new here. It shows the entire history for the repository, fine and dandy. Now let me edit this README with some text and press save. Now we go back to the Git panel. We see it's fine. Then now if I right click and then press history, I could also do this through just the regular file browser, Git history. Now we see this nice pretty div that says, oh, this is the file history for just the README, and it shows only the commits for this file. Nothing too hard. You press on it, it'll show the diff as normal. But this node, this uncommitted changes, is also new. So there wasn't really a way to know, hey, this is the stuff you've just typed in Jupyter Lab. So this was also new. Basically, to revert back to the regular repository history, you just press the X. That was the selected file history. And now let me show the amend. So let me just commit a file. And you press commit. So that's fine. But now let me revert these changes. Now staged. Now, when you press these 3 dots, there's the regular create a new commit, but you can also amend one. So when you press that, the commit message and the commit description gets disabled, and then we press commit. What? That wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, anyways, it should commit normally, and then it would be appended to this, this brand new commit. Moving along to the very last one, I think this is.
Try and run it one more time.
One more time?
Hit that button again. I think that there was a pre-commit hook there that got in your way. No, bummer.
Black.
Yeah, so this might be something to consider eventually, but nevertheless.
Yeah, this worked in my regular demo. I don't know how it's working here.
I wanted to see it happen for you. I like all these features that you have, like with the notifications and the choices and stuff. It's pretty.
Yeah,
it's because the commit will become empty if you commit all your changes. You still need to run changes. That's the error message.
Wait, so like, what do I do?
you still need to make some change, not all of them, but some change. Like just remove Jupyter Lab in the README area, like.
Right, and then amend this here. Oh, thanks.
See, we're not blaming this on you. We're blaming this on Git. It's the stupidest part of software.
I'll let you just have that statement and move on. As I know people are very opinionated on that statement, so I don't want to, move on with that. But this is the last one I want to talk about, and this was the most important contribution I made. It brings merge conflict preview and resolution into the editor. So, if you're a developer and like about version control, that merge conflicts are like one of the biggest pain in the asses you can have, right? But that's from a developer standpoint. Now look at it from a view where you don't really know about, Git practices. You just know it as something you need to do as a chore to push your notebook onto some remote repository. So when like data analysts or data scientists see a merge conflict, it's like 5 times the hell that a developer would face when they get a merge conflict. So what this feature brings is you'll get a new conflicted tab, which I will show after, that says which files are conflicted, and you can preview and resolve notebooks and text files within the editor. So without having to leave the editor or just enter a terminal. So this is a example repository I made for this demo. And we have a conflicted file, conflicted text file, and a conflicted notebook. So if I were to, diff the text file, we now get a triple diff, which is brand new to the editor. So we can, do whatever. We can revert this change and, edit stuff, whatever we want. And just to save the file as resolved, you just press mark as resolved. And now it's in your staging area as wanted. So now let's look at the notebook, which is more used. I got to be honest, I don't have much experience with Jupyter notebooks, so I'm not going to like modify too much. But what I do know is that if I press mark as resolved, it's going to work fine. So you can see there's different outputs have changed. The cell has changed. So if I were to press mark as resolved, this would hop into our staging area, and then I could do, whatever I want and then commit. And that's about it. The last slide was really for everyone else. It was just to show that, hey, open source is really cool. And if you're a large company that hasn't delved into open source sponsorship and stuff like that, now's your chance to open source your heart out. So yeah, that's basically my presentation.
Well, I can't wait for you and your open source your heart out band to play your next gig. That was really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are there any questions for Navin and his work or his fellowship?
I just sorry. Okay. I just misunderstood the last example. What does the mark as resolved button does in fact? Is it resolve automatically the conflict? I did not understand.
Well, so thanks to NBDime, like it resolves as much as it can on its own. And for the example I had, like it was able to resolve, automatically without me having to make any changes. Suppose it was an even larger notebook with, something that needs to be manually resolved, and I press mark as resolved by accident, you get a pop-up saying, hey, you still have conflicts, and then the user would have to manually resolve them. It was just because my example was very simple that it worked out fine. But yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
And for the people that are looking for a release, Luciano, I see you. So the release has not been done yet for that last feature. The other has been released, but not that one, because we need a bit more testing, especially for edge cases where a file was deleted in one branch and not in the other one, those kind of things. So hopefully we can do that quickly and we can release it.
In fact, I'm really interested by this because I write notebook for scientists here at ESRF. And when I make some update, and usually they made their own modification on their end, and then it's sometimes a pain to, put everything together and resolve the conflict. So that would be very helpful to have this feature.
Yeah, we have similar feedback on people that are using it, so it will be very welcome.
Cool. If this feature is still in progress, I'm wondering if we could use like ours and theirs for these merge conflicts. But aside from that, I'm excited that everybody else is excited to see this. And thank you for sharing. It's Navin, you said there is another person that helps you with this. Were they part of the fellowship also?
They just had to leave, early due to external reasons. So I'm the only one that has the ability to demo stuff. But yeah.
Cool. So you had like not only management mentoring support, but you had some coding team support also while you were doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
Neat. My last question is, Federic, how did you all get involved how did you wind up getting involved in this program?
Actually, they contacted me.
That's so easy.
I was lucky.
That's so easy. Oh man. Wonderful. But seems like we need like go ahead.
Their pattern is that companies pay them to finance students to contribute to open source project. And so one of the company was interested in that particular extension. And so they took the burden to contact maintainer and to be sure that some people were ready to help on the open source front.
Very cool. Thank you for filling us in on that. Alrighty. Let's move on. And Mike, let's hear about the Citation Manager. I know you're looking for feedback last time or a couple meetings ago. Let's hear where you are.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I will dive right into the demonstration of Citation Manager. Maybe first only showing one thing, which is Cite2C. So this is basically the predecessor and why I had this idea to create a Citation Manager for Jupyter Lab. So Cite2C was a way to add citations for Jupyter Notebook. And it was very good software, a very good extension. However, it wasn't really developed recently, nor was it supported to Jupyter Lab. So students like me who wanted to have citations inside of a notebook really had no good way to add them or view the existing citations from Cite2C extension. So that's why there is now a Jupyter Lab Citation Manager, which is very much work in progress. And this demo is mostly to gather feedback and encourage you to check it out and say what you think, what features you would like to have. So it basically works in Markdown cells. So I just switch this cell to Markdown, and it adds these two buttons. So one is to add a citation, and you can see it's a lot of various journals, various articles from journal articles, and other items which come from the Zotero Citation Manager. And that's it. So it basically renders, and the next thing that we can do is add bibliography. So I want to add it in this cell, and I can add a title. So let's just copy that. And it looks like this. So then when I add another citation item, let's see, this one, it will automatically update. So we can have many citations, and the idea is also to enable citation clusters and support any citation style which is available out there. I close this one. The next thing which it allows you to do is to change the citation style, and you can just start typing and see lots of styles which are available and the preview of how any given style would look like. Oops. So I clicked on one, and now the citations are just numbers, and the bibliography changed as well. Another thing that I think is cool is this Explorer, which allows me to check what publications I have added to my library without leaving Jupyter Lab. So first, it displays the citations which are already in this document, and they are sorted by how many times any item was cited. But I can also search for publications which are not currently cited and maybe open them. Let's see if this will work.
So are you doing an active search for papers?
No, this is only a collection from my my Zotero collection. So basically this is it. So here is a list of items that I added from my browser through a Zotero connection. It was synchronized with the Zotero server. So this is a proprietary but really open source service. And it allows me to now, after synchronizing via this button, to explore everything and also go into more details, see how it looks underneath there. Yeah, so moving on to how it works, let me first show that notebook as maybe in the JSON editor. So it adds an metadata item, which is very similar to how Cite2C worked, but slightly different. So the idea was to enable adding, storing the citations metadata in the notebook, because if you will share your notebook with a collaborator and they don't have any specific item in the collection, they wouldn't be able to, for example, change the citation style and re-render it, or could corrupt your collection of references if this information was not attached to the notebook. And further, because the citations references are attached to the cells in the cell metadata, you can move cells around, move to another notebook, and those will still be attached to the cell, and the extension will be able to recover them and match to the appropriate item. So this is the core part. There are also features enabling you to import citations from, for example, Cite2C, which is a different format. And I guess I don't have a Cite2C notebook here. Check if I can. Okay, this one isn't working because this was already converted. But another converter, so there are different ways to import citations from existing notebooks. One is, as I mentioned, Cite2C, but the other one is to just take DOI reference, and if you have a citation there and linking to a DOI, then it will be automatically imported when you open this notebook next time. And what's underneath what's driving this. So this is basically using citation styles language, defining how the various citation styles work, and it's shipped from the Jupyter Lab citation data package. And thanks to Nick for suggesting this idea to distribute those separately, which are basically XML files, but with a different extension, which define how the citations should behave. So there is several thousand of those. And then for fetching the citations, currently it's integrated with Zotero Web API. So it's just sending plain HTTP requests to the servers. But in theory, this extension will be structured in a way that any other manager which offers REST API could be connected to that. And what you need to connect is only providing, okay, this vendor expired, so I cannot show you that really well, but you need to provide Zotero API key, which can be read-only and generated after logging in on the website. And there are some other settings like default style or output format. So this is basically it. The next steps is really defining the scope, what features are still missing, and what would be useful to implement. So I can structure the code to its final form and avoid any major refactorings. Then also adding support to Jupyter Book with BibTeX, and possibly extending the support from some Zotero specific things like labels and collections, and hopefully making a release before the end of this year. Yeah, that's it.
Very nice share, Mike. Does anybody have any questions, comments, feedback?
I'm just really excited because I wanted to see citation stuff and I know it's existed, but I love to see all this work. Thank you.
All right. Well, I had one question for you, Mike. What is it that you study? There's this like weird software demo mixed amongst cancer and cigarettes. So what are you working on?
So my background is in bioinformatics, and I'm doing omics integration currently, and specifically applying that to certain women's diseases, basically looking at small biomolecules.
Neat. It's surprising you said that you're a student, and it still surprises me because you get so much work done. I have a hard time remembering you're still in your studies. Well, good luck, and thank you for sharing that. Have you shared a link to the repo in the HackMD or Zoom chat? If you could, that would be great so folks can get to it. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. All right, David, are you still hanging out with us? Yes, you are. I feel like this has become like the monthly check-in for the async kernel. So let's see where you've gotten to.
Yeah, so I've been working on a new feature this weekend actually. And I got pretty excited about it. So let me share my screen. And this is reactivity in a kernel. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So just a bit of context. So this is IPyKernel, so we all know it. We can write some statements like this one. I assign a value to A, and I display the value of A, and it's expected. There's 1 in it, and then I changed A to 2, and here it still says A equals 1, right? Because it's logical. It depends on the order in which the cells are executed. So if I re-execute A, now it prints 2. And so we are very used to this behavior, but this is not really good for reproducibility because now it depends on the execution order of the notebook. And this is because, I mean, of the semantics of this assignment operator. It's basically in Python just setting a value to setting a key value pair in a dictionary. The assignment operator in Python is not very interesting. It's not like in C++, for example, where you can overload the assignment operator and do something different to the variable that already holds this value. In Python, we don't have this possibility. And I see it more like a possibility to upgrade this this assignment operator. And the best place to do it is in a kernel, because kernels usually provide more features than raw Python. So that's what I did in a kernel recently. So I launched this notebook with a kernel React. So that's a special mode of a kernel. It's not the default mode because I mean, it's still very experimental, and I'm kind of exploring possibilities with it still. So let's try and see what we can do with that. So this thing should fail, right? Because B is not defined yet. But in a kernel, it's completely authorized. Basically, now this assignment operator means that A is B plus 1. So A is completely defined. The result of A is not defined. So if I show A now, well, it shows none. There's nothing in it because B is not defined. So let's look at B. Same, it's none. Now, if I assign a value to B, then B is updated and A is also updated because A always is B plus 1. So that's reactivity, at least the beginning of it, and you can try it out. Yeah, that's all I have to share.
This raises some intense philosophical questions, but this is very cool. Any questions for David?
Only questions of the intense philosophical variety, right?
Yes.
What's the value of C?
C, let's try. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's.
So there's something special about the expression A equals B plus 1. Okay.
Yeah. It recognized that this thing didn't exist. So actually, B is not. When we define B as 1 here, it's not an int. It's something more than an int. It's like an int wrapped into another object. This thing is probably, I think, a bug. I should probably also check that C is not defined at all. And actually, I don't know if it shouldn't be the right behavior because it's not even assigned yet. So,
right. It's a deep philosophical question.
Exactly. Yeah. It really depends on what we want also. But yeah, it's kind of a path towards observable notebooks, because I mean, it's a very typical feature of observable notebooks that users seem to like. So let's see if we can have something similar in Jupyter.
Can this work for other languages? other than Python?
So for this to work, languages must have something similar to AST transformation, because I use that a lot, especially to overload this assign operator and also Git execution. These are the two features that languages must support.
Very cool. Did I just
Thank
miss
you.
the question if this is Python only?
Well, it's Python only. It's not Python only unless you have support for AST transformation or something similar and Git execution.
Cool. Righty. Any more comments or questions? If there aren't, can I show you my version of a reactive kernel and then we set up a meeting and figure out where we can meet in the middle?
Sure.
Cool. Does anybody else mind? All right,
Is this
great.
Pidgey time?
This is Pidgey time. One day I'll get to release this. So philosophically, the philosophical question here. So I've got a Pidgey kernel. Actually, before I demo Pidgey, let me demo Jupyter Lab Markup because I'm absolutely in love with this. Jupyter, is it Jupyter Lab Markup or Jupyter Markup, Nick? Jupyter Lab Markup, maybe. Yeah, this one.
Jupyter Lab.
All right, so let's get a mermaid diagram here. And if you have this chart installed, if you have this extension installed, you can go over into your markdown cell, and not only can you put citations, but now you can put little diagrams, and there's some other fun stuff you can put in here. But now you render it, and you get these flowcharts. The reason I made this digression is because, so what was your situation, David? You had A equals B plus 1 here, and then we run that, and we received, I get an error because I've got a normal kernel here. If I switch over to Pidgey, and I run this again, then this actually renders as, and it doesn't run as code. So if I tab it in, now it's code, and it says B doesn't exist. So if I was to go and put A here, and B is, these are, I basically am accepting Markdown as source here. Oh boy, what a bad demo already. Okay, so I get an error that says B is undefined. So now if I go in and put B in here, and then I run this, so it says B is 3, B equals 10, import pandas, and then we can say something like B equals pandas.util.testing.make data frame. And the update did not happen, but something's busted here. Nevertheless, the idea is, oh, HTML min. Sorry, pip install HTML min. If you notice, every time I have to tab these in just so it runs as a code thing. Yeah, we had to use HTML min here just because the thing gets wonky. And then if I put a transpose here, and now if I'm over here and I keep updating B, that'll keep changing. And then I can say something like b.plot.figure. I think this will work. Okay, so now that's there. And then when I go and run this, that updates and changes. So what I'd love to talk to you about, David, is being able to use this async kernel with async Jinja templates and see if we can meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I'm thinking go ahead.
Yeah.
After you.
It just seems to be a very different architecture because, I mean, the syntax. No, actually, I don't know. I don't have a very good opinion.
Right. So what I'm thinking is that like, or at least what I'm feeling is if there's an output and it's a default output, that just shows up. But if you have like these like interactive templates or UI that somebody might have made, that's a really nice place where I could like totally see like immediately using some of the async stuff. But making the balance between the synchronous parts and the asynchronous parts, like that's a really hard discussion to have. And I'd love to get that conversation going too.
Yeah. Actually, the reactivity feature that I showed today has nothing to do with the asynchronicity. It's
okay.
Pure callback. I mean, pure
okay.
synchronous Python code. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Was not aware of that. Nice. But yeah, let's catch up about this. This is super cool stuff. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I suggest people try out Jupyter Lab Markup. It's pretty fun. There's some mermaid's a cool feature. And you know, if we had, these would be fun to have during our RTC calls. We could put diagrams and stuff in our notes, and HackMD would be okay with it too. Excellent. Well, we've got 5 minutes left. Any last minute comments or questions or things you all want to wind down the time with? Nope. All right. Well, I hope that all you Jovians have an absolutely delightful week, and we will see you again in a month. So get your demos ready and your releases ready, and let's keep bringing some fun demonstrations.
Yeah, and if you'd like to get feedback ever on these calls, if we mess something up, you can do that with the link there. And the next call will be on September 28th. I actually already have an agenda for that too, which this time will be updated in the Jupyter community calendar. But here it is, in case you're so excited and inspired by today. Those are just the last two things I want to add.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants to host, I had a really fun time doing this, and Isabella was super supportive in doing it. So if y'all are looking to become more involved in your open source communities and running good events and stuff, this is a great place to try it out. So contact Isabella and let us know if you want to help.
Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, everyone here is pretty friendly at these meetings, and you don't have to do it alone if you don't want to, but totally open. Thanks for your time.
See you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
These are the lurkers. Very nice. Tony, you can stop recording whenever. I don't think I can Oh, I guess I can actually.